Hey Earthlings, welcome to another episode of Educating Earthlings. This episode is all about my experience on psychedelic mushrooms. Before I get into it, I do want to read a little disclosure. Psychedelics are a mood-altering drug. This episode is only to share my personal experience and should not be used as any medical information. Also, I want to give a trigger warning. This episode talks about depression, suicidal thoughts, and self harm. If these topics trigger you, this might not be an episode for you to listen to. And I'll give a trigger warning again, like before we get into that section. I'm not going to talk too much about it. I want to let the episode speak for itself. But we are going to draw another card from the I Ching, and talk about another gate in human design. So let's get into that. Let's see if they pop one out for us. When I say they, I'm talking about like spirit guides outside of our own energy. I wonder if like spirit or spirit guides still have like similar energy as their human design chart did when they were human, question mark. I don't know. There's a lot of different entities out there. That's just a little side thought that I popped into my head right now. Okay, let's see if they want to pop one out for us. Might have to drop. Oh, got one. Okay. This one is kind of an interesting image. It's gate 61. It looks like somebody looking into a mirror to me. So this gate, gate 61, inner truth, is the gate of mystery. And if you have this activated in your chart, first of all, if you don't have your chart pulled up yet, go pull it up and cross-reference what we're talking about. It will definitely help understand yourself a little bit more. If you want to look up like somebody else's chart or something too, go ahead and do that and then come back. So gate 61 is all about the pressure to know, to unravel the mystery, and to inspire with unique moments of absolute recognition. Ooh, okay, so you're always kind of reaching out towards gate 24. You're not designed to actually solve the mystery. You're more designed to enjoy it. And I love that. Okay, if you have this activated in your chart, make sure that you're not giving into the pressure of trying to solve the mystery, like overthinking about it too much, because that will lead to a lot of confusion and like anxiety around the situation. Like you're not meant to control it, you're just meant to experience it. And those are like, when I'm talking about it's like the mystery of whatever's at hand, and usually it's just like something in our head, especially if we're talking about the head center here. So you're not necessarily meant to like solve these mysteries. You're just meant to sit with it and be here and experience it, which totally freaking correlates to the little episode that we have today. Whenever you take any type of like mood altering plant medicine, you need to make sure that you keep reminding yourself, like, I am tripping. I just took something that alters like my natural state as a human, and our human selves are going to fight whatever we're experiencing and try to make sense of it as much as we can. And that's not what the experience is about. The experience is just about experiencing it. And that's it. Like, you don't need to do anything else besides experience. I still make connections from like something I'll read or listen to or see or experience, and compare it to what I experienced during this like crazy mushroom trip that I'm about to tell you about. Um, and I'll still be making these new connections and like deeper and understand like my experience on a deeper level, or understand the human experience in general on a deeper level, understand human design on a deeper level, like whatever it is that, like, oh my gosh, it's just, it's into some of the stuff is indescribable. Um, but yeah, I'm not gonna talk too much about it. I really enjoy talking about my experience. So if you have experienced anything similar after listening to the episode, please reach out and let me know. I literally love, like, and I would love to have you on the podcast. So if you're down to talk about your experience on any type of like psychedelic or plant medicine, please, 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 please reach out. I would be so excited to talk to you about it. Okay, yeah. Before I talk too much, let's get right into the episode. Thank you so much for being here. And this is mostly like me taking magic mushrooms for the first time. It wasn't the first time that I took them, but it was the first time that I like had an experience on them. I hope my psychedelic story can help somebody else, maybe make sense of something or learn about something else, or can make a connection. That is my all-time favorite thing ever in the whole wide world, is helping somebody make a connection in their brain. I love, like, just seeing in their face when a light bulb goes off and it's just like everything makes sense for them now, and I was the one to help guide them to that place. Like, mm, feels good. Today, I wanted to dive into part 2 of my story and talk about my experience taking magic mushrooms. You could call it a bad trip because it definitely was one in the moment, but it was very transformative. I definitely experienced an ego death. Like, my brain broke, and I feel like I was picking up the pieces for a very long time. I probably still am, honestly, but trying to put everything back together. Having that feeling and coming out of it and knowing that, like, I'm still whole and, like, I'm still the same Lexi that I always have been, it's less scary knowing that you're gonna be okay then, like, the next time around. And I know that not everyone experiences, like, the same thing, and not everyone feels scared. But what I experienced was kind of scary in a sense that I didn't feel like I was in control, and I didn't feel like I of use all of my potential power was to stop being a human and escape my body. When that thought came across my head while I was on mushrooms, the only method that made sense, trigger warning, was for me to slice open my body and allow my power, like my soul, to escape my body and like go be free. And that was a scary thought. We do have all of this power that we hold inside of this human body, and we are limited as humans. That's why we're so curious, and that's why we want to learn so much, and that's why we want to explore and discover and figure things out. Our consciousness, our soul, our spirit is more than just being human. We are here to experience being human, but we also have this inner knowing that this is not all that we are made for. This is just a part of it. Like, everything made so much sense. Even though there was like a scary side to everything that I thought of, there was also like this light, beautiful side to everything. Okay. So another part that I was experiencing was people call it if you've ever seen the movie Get Out, it is very much like the sunken place where he goes into the hypnosis and he falls back and he can see one TV of like what he's doing and he can't control it. When I experienced this part of my mind, it was like I was floating and I fell back kind of and I was floating and I could see all of these TVs around me. They were all memories, all over as far as I could see. I was inside this bubble of just TVs staring at me, and they were all kind of like those old-timey looking TVs with the bunny ears and the knobs on the side. And a lot of them were past memories, but a lot of them were also future memories. It's hard to explain because I didn't know what they were, but I knew that it was part of me. The ones that I could see from my past, um, I didn't realize this at the time, but now thinking about it, I just observed this space and I didn't really do much with it. Just kind of observed and looked around and like noticed that if I focused on one TV for long enough, I would get closer to it and I could kind of like guide my consciousness around this space in my head. But that's about as far as I got exploring this space because there was other things happening and I was worried about catching my flight and all of this and that the next day and like what time is it? How long am I going to be feeling like this? Like, ugh, I'm getting woozy from looking at these things. Like, my stomach is bloated. I might need to throw up again. All of these things are coming in on my head right now. So, I didn't really get to explore my mind as much as I wanted to. But one thing to note as well is that I had this little sliver, a corner of my mind where the TVs were fuzzy and dark and spooky looking. I didn't wanna go there, and I didn't wanna see those memories because they scared me, like, to the bone. They scared me, they were spooky, it just felt like a evil type of presence, like, dark. I learned a little bit more about our subconscious and this place in our mind. A lot of people have experienced very similar experiences to what I'm talking about, where they can see their memories and they can go visit them. And there's a little place, a little sliver that's dark and scary. And these dark and scary, this is that you shove away, that you don't want to think about because it's too much for you. I know that it's protecting us. Those memories I'm not ready to see yet because they genuinely were scary to me and I didn't want to like go up and see them. But I know that there's going to be a day where I'm ready to go explore this place again and see what those memories are and try to figure out a way to open my shadow. That is why psychedelics are a tool used and this is kind of like a new exploration that's happening currently right now. But psychedelics are being used to treat the symptoms of depression. And I feel like this is why it helps our minds in a new way. And yeah, after I experienced this, I needed to kind of like learn more and understand what was going on. So I did a little research, but I feel like when you're not searching is when the best answer comes to you. And I swear to you, this is me just chilling out watching Netflix. If you haven't watched Inside Job yet, it's like an adult animation, kind of like a raunchy, funny thing about like conspiracies and like I don't know. It's a really good show on Netflix if you guys are interested in it. The very last episode that's currently available, I think there's 2 seasons, maybe 1 season, I'm not sure. They dive into the main character's mind, and inside her mind, it's not a bunch of TVs like The Sunken Place in Get Out. Her mind, it is a, giant conspiracy board, and all of her memories are these Polaroid photos, and then they're also like connected by red string and like tacks and all this stuff. And she also had a scary place, a little section of her mind that was gross and dark and scary. And all the memories were a little twisted and like wonky. And oh my gosh, I saw this episode, you guys, and I was like, oh, I have been here. I went there. Like, apparently, everybody has a place like this in their brain, in their mind, their subconscious place where we store these things. This place is very real in our minds, and everybody has one like this. So you don't have to necessarily like take psychedelics to experience your subconscious mind. You could go into a hypnosis kind of meditation. You could set intentions. There are many other different ways that you could go explore this part of your mind rather than taking psychedelics, because sometimes those are just unpredictable. There were so many other just like random things that I was thinking about that made so much sense. It was so wild. Everything made sense. Trying to put this into words right now is so hard. Another thing that was like a big thing for me was time. um, I started to understand more about how, time isn't linear. We always say these things, but actually absorbing this as truth is different. I had this visualization of it and like how humans experience time and how time is happening all at once right now. There's so many layers to it. It's like a masterpiece. Time isn't going in a linear way, that's just how humans are experiencing it, right? We are bound by time. Time also allows us to appreciate each individual moment. And being bound by time as a human is to appreciate the moment that you're in and live and experience and do and just be. Yeah. Another thing that happened, this was kind of like at the beginning of my trip. I got really woozy. This was before I went and experienced my inner mind and all of this stuff. I was like fighting against getting woozy and dizzy and needing to lay down. And like, I feel like I knew where I was about to go and I didn't want to go there, like into my mind space. And I was just about to get my period, so my emotions were on 10, my hormones were on 10. This was also my first time smoking weed while taking shrooms, and some people will say that that heightens your experience, and I would definitely agree. If you've never done shrooms before, please do them just by themselves first and experience them that way first. Smoking will bring you into a different headspace like it usually does. So, what I started experiencing was like everything that I saw with my eyes had this like fuzzy, like aura around it. Like all the objects had like fuzzy auras. People, humans had like glowing auras. Okay. Like kind of like how the sun would be like glowing. And all of the other stuff, like things, had this like fuzzy aura. I remember seeing my rug and it had this cool pink pattern, and I remember seeing it and I remember feeling like I was on a boat because it felt like I was moving. Like all the patterns on the rug were just breathing and shifting and like moving in and out and up and down and around, and I was like completely knocked off my feet. Like I almost collapsed to the ground. I was like on my hands and knees, and then I just like laid on the carpet and I was like, "Whoa." And I could see, so my face was laying on the carpet. On I was looking to my left. and I had my face on the carpet, laying on my stomach at this point, and I could touch the aura of the carpet with my hands, and I could feel, like, that there was just, like, a lot of, like, outsideness, like, dirty feet kind of feeling, you know? Um, and then I looked at some other objects, and I was like, "Oh my god." Like, some of this stuff is from my ex or my ex-husband. I had an ex-boyfriend after my ex-husband who was abusive. He unfortunately struggled with bipolar disorder and ended up bringing himself into a drugged into induced manic episode that basically ended our relationship because it was too intense for me. I couldn't be around him when he was in this energy, and he ended up, like, putting his hands on me twice. That was a big, weight on my shoulders for a really long time because so this is the guy that I cheated on my husband with, and I ended up, like, him leaving my husband, like, for this guy, and we were together for, like, almost a year after. Um and I knew that he struggled with bipolar disorder and all this and that, but it was really hard to watch him kind of, like, go from this one person who I, like, fell in love with, turn into this other person who just didn't give a shit, was completely out of reality and out of, like, control and everything. Um so that was like a really big weight that I was carrying for a long time. And up until this point when I took these shrooms and wasn't prepared for the trip that I was about to dive into. But before I kind of like dove into all this stuff, I was looking at these objects and seeing these things and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this thing reeks like my ex-boyfriend." Like these objects were just like, dirty. I don't know how else to describe it, but the fuzziness of the aura was like I didn't wanna pick it up, I didn't wanna touch it. Talking about it now, it doesn't make sense, but, like, because I could pick something up and touch something, and I won't feel these things for real anymore. But, like, there was different temperatures and textures that I was feeling that made my body think that this thing was bad. It was so wild. I ended up probably going through a little bit of a heavier karmic cycle that I was supposed to go through with my ex-husband, and I went through it with this boyfriend probably. Just same energy, different human. Keep manifesting the same energy until we learn from it, so yeah. Anyways, my next little experience after I was, like, tripping over how raunchy and nasty things were in my apartment, I mean, you needed to get rid of everything. Um, I started feeling very woozy and dizzy and, like, I'm still on the floor at this point, okay? And I try my best to, like, get up and get water, but I can't. I'm just heavy. I'm able to kind of, like, scoot myself to the bathroom, and when I say that I threw up, I, like, projectile threw up, and I don't know if this I have never I've done shrooms again before after this, and I've never gotten sick like I got sick. Like, this was something I feel like I was holding on to some type of energy that was just bad, like a bad vibe. And I swear I absorbed these things from my past relationships and like it felt so good to get that out. It feels like you are just expelling all of the toxicity out of your body. I felt so great after. There would be a few other times where I thought I was gonna throw up again, and I would kind of, like, shuffle myself to the bathroom. I would just cry, and I just needed to cry and breathe and kind of, like, hold myself, and I felt a lot better. Yeah, oh my gosh. It was wild. It was a wild trip. I want to end this by reading something that I wrote right after I experienced this trip. So, like I said, a lot of external and internal factors kind of brought this on into being a quote bad trip, but what it really was an ego death and an awakening. Welcome to my trip. Whoa. I dove into the universe. My eyes were the portal. I felt every emotion and every feeling. My trauma from past relationships were unveiled. I relieved them and released them in one motion. Reality isn't truth. It's distorted by ego. When I was in my mind, parentheses, the whole universe is there, I unraveled what it's made of. Everything is beautiful, but everything is all fucked up at the same time. Time doesn't make sense. Numbers and math don't make sense. Nothing is real. Nothing really matters. That Queen song kept playing in my head. Nothing really matters. I thought about every movie and show that has had an impact on my life. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this part. Okay, yes. Side note, movies and shows really impacted me as a child. I think because I have ADD/ADHD, and when I would watch a show, I would get into this trance, like some type of hypnosis trance, and they would just like really imprint on my subconscious mind, you know? And it still happens today as an adult. So here are some of the bigger impact movies and shows. The Greatest Showman, Frozen 2, Moana, Into the Spider-Verse, literally Below Deck. Okay, Below Deck was a show that we were watching. My old roommates and I were watching like during the pandemic one night, one weekend probably. We just watched like so much Below Deck and the interactions between the crew members and the like high paying clients are just ridiculous. And discovering how this reality is here. It's like we're stuck in this fucked up in between space where everything is smushed together and colliding all at once on a beautiful planet in which we're all destroying. Oh, quotation, simulation theory question mark. I felt like the simulation was breaking and I was going to be lost in the in between forever. So during this time, I literally thought I was going to end up in a mental hospital. Like, I thought that my brain broke and I'm going to be thinking like this forever. Then my brain broke. It all fell into pieces, floating in space. I had no control over where my mind went. It was scary not having control, also very transformative. I cleared out so much built up energy that's been stuck inside my head, mind, brain, and body. I hold on to way too much. I give experiences, emotions. I give emotional power to objects, people, places, sounds, food, literally everything. Everything holds a unique energy. In my trip, I felt like I could feel all the energy flowing around me and all the energy flowing from my surroundings and the people close to me, physically around me and not physically around me. So, people close to me that I hold close in my heart, and then the people around me that you're physically within a space as well. I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't keep the energy quiet. It was all so loud. Clearing out intentionally is so important, especially for myself. I also realize that there's a lot of evil in this world. We all have some evil inside us that tests us and holds us back. If we give that evil power, we fall into the trap of society/ego. If we ignore the evil, however, it builds up. The negative energy we ignore will creep into our minds and hearts without us even knowing. We must see the darkness and acknowledge it. That's the only way we can learn from it. A lot of growth can come from facing the darkness within that we push aside from day to day. Some people really, really don't understand. Some people really, really don't understand. Nothing is real besides energy. We all live inside our own minds, our own worlds, our own narrative, our own universes. My physical trip was intense. I woke up to all that energy that I've allowed to build up inside me. I saw faces in the clouds. My mind saw faces that were in pain, agony, and distress. Then the faces transformed into joyful and happy faces when the sunset started shining and glowing orange gold. Color has feelings. I started getting motion sick from the lines moving. I threw up a lot. I was purging and releasing all of that built up, stagnant, negative energy. I cried a lot. I felt so uncomfortable. I didn't want to be inside this vessel anymore. I wanted to be free from what felt like a prison in my own body. I realized that we are not meant to live like this. Being human feels weird because we are cosmic, we are holy, we are magic, we are celestial, we are goddesses and gods, we are pure light and love, we are raw, untethered energy. This human vessel and mind cannot comprehend. I discovered that words are hard for me. I wish I could let others see into my mind. Then they can see the clarity I saw, or they can see the confusion I saw. I saw both to everything. Words really cannot describe it. Everything is connected, but also unique. Everything is different, but also the same. I felt and feel that there is a major disconnect between what is real and what we think is real. Words are always colliding. Different dimensions are closer than we know. Systems humans put in places are twisted by the minds of those who created them. Nothing applies to us as individuals unless we want it to and allow it to. It feels like the world is falling apart. What is really happening is the mind is waking up to the fact that reality isn't what it seems. It's okay to break down. The only way we as humans can release energy is by physically letting it out. We can release by the expression of emotions, feelings, ideas, and thoughts, by putting every ounce of our energy into anything, everything we do. Create and transform the physical space. Body, muscles, the brain, the hands, creating art and consuming art, connecting with others on a soul level, speaking and singing and yelling and dancing, everything. Bringing out healing work done in the mind into the physical realm is confusing. There is an obvious disconnect between the physical and the non-physical. My brain likes to see patterns and systems and how things work, but I can't seem to wrap my head around connecting my physical body with my soul essence. Maybe there's not supposed to be a clear connection. Maybe becoming comfortable with being disconnected from my physical body is okay. Maybe the whole point is to understand that I am not my body or my mind. I am light. I am love. I am pure energy. Then, when I dove into my eyes, I dove into my soul. I dove into the universe. I dove into the universe, my universe. It's intense in there, scary and open and wild and beautiful and twisted. It never ends. I felt like I went into the deep corners of myself and just started to scrape out the nasty gunk I've been allowing to stick around. I feel new. Nothing is real, everything is real. As above, so below. Hey, thank you so much for listening to that episode of me just talking about my experience. And there's so many more connections that I've made since then. And I think in the future, I would want to talk more about this, maybe with one of you, if anybody would love to come on the podcast and talk with me about their experience on plant medicine. Thank you again for listening. Make sure to follow me at Earthling Lex, and then follow the podcast account, also Educating Earthlings. Please, please, please reach out if you have anything to talk about with psychedelics or plant medicine. And yeah, we will see you in the next episode, part 4 of my spiritual awakening. And I'm going to talk about my Saturn's return and just kind of like coming back home to myself next. So yeah, thank you. See you next time.